You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Hey gang, welcome to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of the Wrestling Epicenter. You might have heard me say that in the intro, but I said it again. My name is James Walsh, and you are tuning in to what should be a really, really fun time here at the Wrestling Epicenter as we welcome another second-generation wrestler. We had Tully Blanchard, and then later on Tessa Blanchard. We had Ric Flair, and then later on we had David Flair. We had Bruno Sammartino, David Sammartino. A lot of Davids, you notice that? Second-generation Davids. Anyway, here we go with another one. We had on Tito Santana, and here is his daughter, Jenni Santana. Jenni Haas, Haas, spelled just the same as Charlie. Jenni Santana, as she's going by in professional wrestling. And this is a really good interview with a young lady who's got her stuff together. I wanted to kind of start by saying that when I was introduced to her, it was somebody flaming us on YouTube, basically saying nasty things about Tito. And Tito was from a few towns over. I believe it's Roxbury, New Jersey. At least that's where the hair salon is. And, you know, his family was kind of known in the area as being a really tight-knit, good family. He was known to be a good family guy. So when this story broke, my first thought was, I don't believe it. It's a lie. It's for attention. I have changed my tune. It is definitely true. And if you look at the young lady's face, very, very pretty face. But when you know whose daughter she is, you can tell that there's definitely a family resemblance. Anyway, that's my little 2 cents here. I invite everybody to check out WrestlingEpicenter.com. Check out the store. Buy something. Keep us going free and clear. Buy some of Jenni Santana's t-shirts as well. Keep her doing this because I think that it's important that the family bloodline continue in the world of professional wrestling. And without any further delay, or maybe just a few more slight delays, let's get to Jenni Santana right here on the Wrestling Epicenter. Here we go.
This is Tito Santana, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. Arriba!
Hails from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Jenni Santana.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the line right now is a second-generation professional wrestler and a grappling champion at that rate as well. She is the daughter of El Matador Tito Santana, the WWE Hall of Famer. She is Jenni Santana. Are you with me, ma'am?
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, when I was introduced to who you are, it was actually through an interview with Tito Santana and people commenting on it. And the way they approached it was a little different than you are. They kind of made it more of a Jerry Springer kind of feel. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's really Tito's MO. So I'm going to start by saying that, but I'd love to tell your story and find out more about it and kind of peel back some of the layers of the onion that I saw with your prior interviews with the likes of Charlie Haas and Hannibal.
Oh, about like my relationship with Tito? Is that what you're...
If that's okay, yeah. Just talk about that a little bit. But so let's get started.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been open about it. I only found out a few years ago that he was my biological father, you know, and so, and I was already into martial arts, very heavy. And then I did the interview with Hannibal, and he had asked if I was interested in ever trying wrestling, and I was like, yeah, why not? As far as the personal relationship with Tito and I mean, I had reached out. I don't know if he wasn't really receptive at first, and then I had talked to his sons, and we kind of had a conversation. And so it wasn't like, I mean, I can imagine it was a shock, This is how many years later, and a grown person with children of her own, not shows up on your doorstep, but kind of like, oh, hi, here I am, And so I wanted to approach it really gently, I guess, because I know he has a family, he has children of his own. It's not like I knew for a long time. I was finding out pretty close to the same time he was finding out. I had suspicions when I was younger, but there wasn't really DNA or anything like that, so it wasn't anything that I had known. And then, like, my life went on, and I hadn't really thought about it until a few years ago. We had a conversation, we were amicable, like we had talked about getting to know each other and meeting up eventually, and then I don't know what happened. It just kind of went silent. So I'm not really sure. So that's that. So eventually maybe we will get to know each other more, but I don't know about a Jerry Springer show. I guess anything could be made into a Jerry Springer show nowadays, but
Yeah, I don't think he's on the air, but there's like 65 different copycats of him. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess my question would be, obviously this all broke right around the same time that you were deciding to get into the world of professional wrestling. And, it's not the most normal job in the world for people to fall into. Did you love wrestling before you knew your bloodlines, or is this something that kind of stemmed from finding out?
Oh, I mean, wrestling has always been a part of who I was ever since I was younger. No, I didn't grow up with Tito, so I wasn't like backstage during wrestling matches in the business growing up. But wrestling itself, I was wrestling from the time I was like probably 3 years old. I grew up with 3 older uncles, and they were heavily into wrestling. My whole family was. So they had been to matches. They were in the ring. Like, they knew a lot of the wrestlers very well. And so, like me, it was natural to me. Like, we would always have wrestling matches in the backyard. Like, I would be body slammed over my head. We would do tag team matches. Then as I got older, we even had our own wrestling organization in the basement with like a cardboard belt. So wrestling was always around. Always that sporting aspect of it, the sports entertainment aspect of it. Like, we watched wrestling when we were younger, and so it was always around that way. Just not the backstage scenes of it for me. More of like a fan of wrestling, I guess, growing up. So.
Absolutely. And when you made that decision, that tough decision, and by the way, if I haven't empathized enough, it's got to be just a really tough situation for you to be in. I mean, I don't think enough people really give that enough thought, what you must have been going through. Was it a tough decision to send that letter, to reach out to him and say, hey, you got a daughter that you didn't even know about?
Yeah, it was extremely tough, just because I was coming at it from the aspect of, like, I'm a grown person and I don't want to cause rifts or chaos in whatever situation he has.
Right.
Some people love new news that can, turn their life upside down, and some people do not. So I didn't know how he was going to take it. And just finding out myself, like, I didn't even know how I felt about it. And so I guess the deciding factor was my grandmother, had this sit-down conversation with her. And I was like, I'm thinking about, reaching out. And she was like, she always watched, she's like, I watch these shows, Long Lost Relative, all the time. They find these people that they've never met. They have great relationships. She's like, if I had someone reach out to me, especially you, she's my biggest fan, loves me so much. Like, she's like, I would be so happy, and I would want to get to know them. Even if I found out now I had siblings or something, like, I'd want to develop a relationship with them. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yes, and it's not like we're young. Like, Tito's been married for, I don't know how many years, maybe 40 years or something. Like, it's not like it's a delicate new relationship,
Right.
And he's older in life now, so it's not like something like this maybe could cause waves when
Right.
you're just starting out in a marriage, you know what I mean? And like you don't have that good foundation. But when you're older in life and you hear these things, you know, you have more life experiences, you have more solid foundations in relationships. So you really shouldn't rock anything too hard, you know what I mean?
I do know what you
And
mean.
so like that was my thinking. So I was like, yes, let's go full force. And I had talked to my chiropractor. His I think it was his wife's friend had the same situation where she had just found out about her biological father, and he's like, she reached out, and the guy immediately after they hung up the phone drove across the country to come see her, you know. And so you hear all those stories, and I guess not almost like you're not hoping, but like that kind of seems like, yeah, if that was me, like that sounds like something that would happen, you know, like you haven't seen this person, you share the DNA, like you don't have a foundation of a relationship, but you do have that blood connection, you do have that DNA connection. And Tito and I had a lot of similar things happen in life. He's very athletic. I'm very athletic. You know, he was a pro wrestler. I'm doing great in jiu-jitsu. And then he works for a high school. I was working for a high school. We were both in education. And so, like, there was a lot of connections besides just, you know, the DNA. So I not that I had hopes, but I was like, yeah, let's go. We're going to give this a shot. So
Awesome.
It didn't actually turn out like that, but you can't control everything.
No, you can't. I actually grew up a few towns over from where Tito and his family lived, and I was there when they opened up the barber shop that I think his wife runs and all that stuff, and I saw his kids there. Do you have any relationship or have you had any communication with his brother, with your brothers? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to talk to them. We had a good conversation. One of them more than the other ones. I you know, try to keep in contact with. So, I mean, it's hard. We're all adults. We're busy, but definitely like receptive to having a relationship, which is very nice, and able to have open and honest communication is super important. So the fact that I can have that, I'm very appreciative.
Very cool. I did see something that I was encouraged by, and I promise we won't talk just about your dad in the interview. We'll get to you as well. I did see something that I was encouraged by, and I think he was a little blindsided by it, but he was asked a question on a video interview about you, and he acknowledged that she's getting into pro wrestling, and they kind of let it lie. They didn't really like follow up questions with it, but it has to be encouraging that he is accepting of, you know, this is you, right? This is her. It is real. Everything that's been said is true, and she's out there, and she is, you know, she is part of my family.
Yeah, and I mean, as time goes by, you know, maybe things will get easier to confront more and things like that. I mean, I'm not trying to push anything or make anyone uncomfortable, but at the same time, like, I am here, you know, so that's not changing.
Right.
So I will just see how it goes, like one day at a time, and hope for the best, but, you know, prepare for kind of anything. So.
And if I can say, I would never have thought it at first, but when you say, that's Tito Santana's daughter, you look at your face and you're like, oh yeah, there's no denying that. That's obvious. There definitely is a resemblance there.
Yes, physically we do look very similar, so.
Yeah, I never would have thought it. You know, it's saying Stephanie McMahon. You know, somebody sees Stephanie McMahon, you just think, oh, she's pretty. And then you go, oh, that's Vince McMahon's daughter. Yep, I see it.
Yeah, one of the things you can't unsee then sometimes.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So you mentioned jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is something that you're very involved with. I think you even hold some championships in that regard. How did you end up involved in combat sports in that way?
So I've always been physically active. I had done gymnastics when I was younger, but then I kind of outgrew the possibility of doing that for a long time. I got way too tall. And so I did karate in high school, which was awesome. And it was more like boxing and kickboxing mix. Our coach was an ex-Navy SEAL, so like I learned a lot of great stuff, both physically and mentally. And I got to brown belts with karate. Then UFC came out, you know, and we're watching it, and we're like, what is this? This is awesome, you know, because I'd always been into the fighting and the martial arts aspect. but I was from a small town, and you couldn't find Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools anywhere, and even if you did, I don't know how up to par they would have been, because it was it was new to me, but being in a small town, it was definitely not something that was prevalent. I'm sure it's different now back there. There are a few schools that are really good and legit. But then we moved to Las Vegas, and we happened to move, to the fight capital of the world. And there's a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, and there's a lot of amazing, jiu-jitsu athletes who have won worlds numerous times. My coach has won worlds. He's a 5-time world champion. His coach was Osvaldo Alves. And so just like these great legends that you're getting to not only train with, but become part of their lineage, it's an amazing opportunity. And for anyone who, loves the sport, not only, getting to be part of the sport itself and learning the mental discipline and the physical discipline, but also getting to be part of that part of history is just really awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now transitioning into professional wrestling, leaving a quote unquote sport, a shoot sport, for lack of a better way of putting it, to the world of professional wrestling. Was there anything that surprised you more when you started doing this side of things as opposed to the shoot style?
Yes, and I'm still actively doing jiu-jitsu, so that I don't think will ever change. I'll be like 90 crawling out to the mat to compete. That's my goal. But I think the main thing for me is in jiu-jitsu, you're trying to, for lack of better words, you're trying to hurt your partner. You're trying to break their arm or choke them out unconscious. And so then you go into professional wrestling and it looks just as brutal, maybe even more brutal, but you're trying to not hurt your partner. And so your goal is to not hurt them and to almost kind of work together sometimes to stay safe. Like staying safe is the most important thing. So that was kind of the biggest switch for me, I would say.
Awesome.
And then the other one was, in jiu-jitsu, if you have any kind of injury, you want to downplay that so that they do not know, that you have any vulnerabilities. And pro wrestling, you want to upplay all of your vulnerabilities so that the crowd can interact and see what's happening and, kind of understand better. So
totally different mindset then when you're out there.
Yeah, it is. And it's quite an adaptation. I'm working on it. But my trainer at Future Stars of Wrestling is Sin Bodhi, and he has been just so amazing. Like his coach was Jake the Snake Roberts. And so, again, that lineage is amazing to be a part of and to have his knowledge. Like he's been in the sport for so long. He's learned and worked with legends. And so to have him not only teach me, but kind of look and critique me and things like that, it's been such a great opportunity for me and has allowed me to get so much better in the small amount of time that I have. Like, I still have a lot of work to do, but really not good, but to grow faster than someone who doesn't have an opportunity to work with someone so great.
And Sin Bodhi is definitely somebody who thinks way outside the box. So you're going to learn a lot of different things that you might not learn from your typical trainer.
Yeah, and I've always been I was in a car accident a few years ago, and I couldn't train jiu-jitsu for quite some time, and I still went and I watched the coach teach the move of the day, watched my other teammates roll around, and just kind of sitting there and observing. I was able to, absorb and learn some things just watching body movement. And so with him, just watching, some of his matches or watching as he teaches, even if I'm not, the one in there getting the direct instruction, it's still a great learning opportunity just to see his whole, just how he acts in a match. Like every little thing has a detail and a purpose. Where, coming from someone so new, like you don't think about it. And there's so much to think about and put together, and everything just comes so naturally to him. It's just...
It's awesome. And I have a friend that I used to do this with 20 years ago who's English, but he used to live in Vegas. And when he was there, he helped promote shows, and his name is Dan Edler. And he asked me to ask you about somebody he thinks is training you named Kyle Hawk. Do you have any stories or knowledge of Kyle Hawk?
Yeah, so when I first when I first had the interview with Hannibal, he had set me up, and I had been talking to World Class to do a match there. They had hooked me up with Kyle Hawk to train me in Las Vegas because he was from Las Vegas. And he had coached me a few weeks, maybe a few months even, maybe like 2 months. It just didn't it wasn't the best fit for me, so that didn't.
I got you.
Yeah, it lasted very long.
Wasn't sure there was anything there. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to bring up a touchy.
No, it's okay. Yeah, but I mean, it was good. The foundational stuff was good. I think it was more just like, I don't even know, but yeah.
So Hannibal is such a part of your story because that interview you did with him really got people aware of everything that you are and who you are. And that was such a big thing. And you even got to work with them with Too Cold Scorpio against the Blood Hunter, who is Hannibal's alter ego, Kevin Sullivan in his corner. And I saw that match. That is on YouTube. I enjoyed what you guys were doing there. But what was it like working with Hannibal? Because he's kind of become a controversial character in his own right of late.
Yeah, he has. And that was like the first time I was in the ring. You know, I hadn't had my own debut match yet or anything. And so it was great. Like he was really good with like explaining things. And I mean, there's so much to learn. So like soaking it all up and then to work with not only him, but Too Cold Scorpio. He's also like a legend in the business. He's been around, had such great matches, has such good experiences. And so, like, they have this concept of a match, and I'm like, you know, brand spanking new. But you know, we talked before the match about some things that you know were going to happen. Some things that they had said some things that I could do, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then maybe like so, like, oh, I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, you know. And so. And then not everything went according to plan during the match, which you wouldn't even know because, I mean, they're so great and so experienced. You know, when you have stuff like that, you can't even tell from the outside perspective. But we laughed when we watched it. I definitely looked like a deer in headlights at first. You know, I think as the match went on, it kind of got a little better, but it was a very big match, you know, for my first time ever out in the ring. The crowd was, you know, that place was packed. The crowd was off the chain. Like there was so much energy and I was so nervous. I think as it went on, my nerves settled a little bit, but it was a really great opportunity. I'm very thankful for that, to work with both him and Too Cold Scorpio in the ring. Like that was really great for me.
Very cool. And of course, the simple question is, what are your goals to accomplish in wrestling? Because if you think about it, the number one female wrestler in the world right now is a second-generation wrestler in Charlotte Flair. And the number two, arguably, is Ronda Rousey. And you kind of have a little bit of both of them in you when it comes to your background. So what's your ultimate goal, and what do you hope to achieve in the world of professional wrestling?
People ask me that all the time, and I was like, I don't know. Like, everything has been such a whirlwind. Like, I've been so blessed to have, you know, been accepted into this world and being able to train and do matches. I mean, yeah, sky's the limit, but you know, I have to enjoy it, and I'm loving it right now, so that's great. I don't really have any expectations. I would just hope for the best. People ask me dream matches all the time, and every time I'm like, Charlotte Flair, second generation, we have a lot in common. She's super athletic. Next one would be, of course, Ronda Rousey. Like, she comes from a judo background. I'm from jiu-jitsu. So we also have similarities there, like you mentioned. And so, yeah, those are my two dream matches. Do I ever think I'll be on that level? I don't know. You know, like, yeah, you always have your head in the clouds. You're like, that would be great. But realistically, I mean, I'm just starting out in wrestling, so I have no idea. I am just loving this journey so far, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have been given so far. And I will just go with it and see what happens.
Very cool. Very cool. I won't keep you too much longer, but I have to out you just a little bit. You let slip, well, maybe not let slip, you let people know your kid's age with the Hannibal interview. And just doing the math in my head, I'm thinking, she would pass for her 20s. I don't but
I was just at a nail appointment with my daughter, and they're like, was that your sister? I'm like, yes, ma'am. Thank you for noticing. That was her. She was here.
That's awesome. Well, what did they think of you getting in the ring and having both jiu-jitsu and professional wrestling matches?
We are my family. It's so close. Like, we always joke around that we're very supportive of each other, but we're also very real with each other. So there will be no time ever that I would get my head in the clouds and be stuck up about anything, because they would be the very first people to knock me down about anything. So that's awesome. It will keep me very grounded. My daughter's great about it. I'm actually trying to get her to train with me. It's going to happen. She's going to get in the ring. I've gotten her in the ring a few times. So, and then my son, like, he's a huge wrestling fan, and it's so funny because we had this one match. I think it was the one I did with World Class Revolution. It was like, what wrestler are you super excited to see? And there was a poll. And I forget if I was first or second, and my son had saw it, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And Mick Foley was the other one, and he was like, what are these people thinking? He's like, they're comparing you to like a legend in the sport. Like, what? And so he totally knocks, my ego right off. But he's very supportive, but at the same time, this is something he's grown up watching, but he's grown up with me, so he just doesn't see me on that level. I don't know if he ever would. I could probably be the biggest star in WWE, and he still would be like, what are they thinking, so.
It's still mom to him, huh? It's just mom to him.
Yes, it's just mom. Yes.
All right. So you mentioned Mick Foley, Kevin Sullivan, we talked about a little earlier. Guys that would have worked with your dad in the past, do they ever pull you aside and tell you like stories about him and things like that? Or is that something that they just don't know, they don't really get into with you?
No, I mean, I was able to be at WrestleCon, and like I've been around Kevin Sullivan a lot now for different reasons at WrestleCon, and we've had dinner with a group of people. But he tells me we talk a lot. But I was able to meet like a Bushwhacker there, the Honky Tonk Man, and so many other wrestlers at WrestleCon. And they were excited to know me because, they hadn't met me yet. But they would share stories, and that was interesting. And not only stories about him, but like stories of them in their prime or years ago when they used to be traveling so much. And, I love hearing stories about other people, not just wrestlers, but like just so you can kind of learn about a person, like learning their background and things like that. It gives you a good perspective on who they are and where they came from. So yes, I'm very excited to have met a lot of the legends so far in the sport, and anything they tell me, I just kind of soak up, and try and learn. So
very cool. Do you have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the world is kind of a weird circle. It's like cosmic things happen. And in my email box, just before I picked up the phone to call you, I got an email from a promotion in New Jersey called ISPW asking me to plug something because your dad's working there. And I thought, that's just too weird. So I guess my question would be, if you two ended up in the same place in the same time, working the same show, is that something that you would love, your dad to second you to the ring or something like that for?
I mean, I think that would be great, not only for like the fans, but who do you have now? You have, oh gosh, now I totally lost Rey Mysterio and his son. Like, people
Dominic.
love that lineage and to see it happen. So, I mean, we would have to figure things out and see how it would go. Like, it would be great. I think it would be great for the fans. I think they would love that.
I think so too. And the other one is a little bit of an opportunity for you to promote. I saw some of your T-shirts they have out there. Very, very cool Santana logo with some cool phrases on the back. Where can people find some merchandise for you?
So I just put out on my Instagram there's a post about it, but you guys can always DM me or send me a chat on Facebook, and I will send out the links to purchase stuff. So I love people. Like, there's been a lot of people who I went to high school with that are ordering stuff, and it's so awesome to see people supporting me, and I just really appreciate it all. So it's really cute.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I got to tell you, like I said, I don't know if we got off on the wrong foot when I said about Jerry Springer, but just the way somebody came at me, they tried to make it seem like some salacious story, and that's certainly not the approach that you have to it at all. It's really a very, very cool story, and, I appreciate you opening up and kind of sharing this intimate part of your life with us. We really do appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw Jerry Springer as a kid growing up. I don't think there was much respect being given on those shows to anyone like that. That's really something that I try to live with. And I think if that was me and roles were reversed, so yes, it is something shocking maybe for him that happened, and I wanted to approach it with definitely more respect than the Jerry Springer in your face type deal.
All right. Before I let you go, do you mind if I ask for one last favor from you?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for a station ID, if you would mind saying this is Jenni Santana and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Jenni Santana and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I do thank you for this. This was a lot of fun, and I hope I didn't go to any raw areas for you. I tried to keep it pretty light and fluffy.
No, it's okay. I've tried to be pretty what now? I can't even think of the word. Transparent about everything. So, no, I mean, it's good, and everyone's going to hear the story and have their own perspective and opinion of it. I can just give my story from my perspective, and that's all I can put out there.
Very cool. Like I said, I legitimately did grow up, just a couple towns away from where his family was, and they're pretty tight knit units. So I'm hoping that everything's cool there, and I'd love for you to be included into that, at least in some way.
Yeah, I mean, and now I have children, and so there's, more grandchildren, so we shall see how it goes. But like I said, we'll hope for the best and prepare for however it happens. But one day at a time is definitely the way to go for me.
You got it. All right. Well, I'll let you go. I think that was pretty close to the time I promised you, so I did pretty good. I did pretty good today with that.
It was. If I could I have to plug one more thing. If you guys are in the Las Vegas area, please check out Ultimate Women of Wrestling. Our first show is going to be on the Las Vegas Strip, May 21st at the Sahara, Las Vegas. We would love to have you there. Please follow us on UWW Fed at Instagram, and then my little thing is Jenni_Santana_. So if you need to reach out to me or follow me, please do so.
I saw that on the website for what was, SWE Fury. So is it the same promoters that are running that show?
Not the same promoters. There's a few different ones, but yeah, maybe
all right.
one. On the same.
Okay, I'll definitely get a link up to that when I put this out there. But again, thank you so much, and I'll let you get on with your day.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
That was a blast. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. I will hang up this time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, rush.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
You're a maniac, so what you gonna do when the Blaze of Maniac runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Viva la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey guys, we had a lovely conversation.
First lady, absolutely.
Oh, look at me. She's so kooky.
Be there.
Where else?
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling.
Epicenter.
Oh my God, you win! Wow, being interactive.
I was not shooting. Yeah, I almost missed my pants. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. Excuse my language. Getting over the shot. See them now. We're into the many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's going to be cool. What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you.
So lonely without you.
In the land of extreme.
Testify. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic
You
head.
earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates chaos. Professional wrestling.
Made in the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire. I'm not
We were sexy.
What a show.
One and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Interactive interview. We took care of the business and ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You better recognize who's the best. Make sure to tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm going to kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line.
Have a nice day. It's showtime.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.